So now, now I would like to call a regular meeting of the Burrillville Sewer Commission to order, scheduled for Tuesday, May 10th, 2016, at the wastewater treatment facility, immediately following a public hearing, which is scheduled for 9 a.m. in the boardroom of the wastewater treatment facility, 141 Clear River Drive, Oakland, Rhode Island, 02858. Stacy, if you would do the roll call.
Present at this regular meeting of May 10th are William Andrews, Chairman, Richard Nolan, Vice Chairman, Russell Fontaine, Secretary, Ray Train, Commission Member, William Peterson is absent. Also present, Tim Kane, Attorney for the Commission, Jim Jeremiah, our Engineer, John Martin, Superintendent, Linda Warhol of Joslin Road, and Stacy Richard and Jackie Batalon, office staff.
And some general public, which we have,
Signage.
before, if anybody come in,
Did everybody sign the sheet?
we have a list there. We'd like to have everybody's name and address, just, you know, so we can put it on a record, okay? So, the first order of business is discussing the agenda items as follows. The question of accepting the minutes of the regular meeting of April 12th, 2016, and the question of dispensing with the reading of said minutes be now taken up.
Motion made.
Seconded. Motion has been made and seconded to dispense with the reading of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I had an agenda item put on. I asked Stacy if she would do this for me. If you recall, a number of months ago, we were searching for office help, and a fellow by the name of Mr. McDonald who works for the town personnel committee actually offered to help us, and he saved us a ton of money by being on that group. So I would like to send him a letter thanking him for helping us out. And does anybody have any comments on it, or?
No, it's a good idea.
You know, the guy was really, really good. I mean, we knew it was gonna cost us a few bucks, and he said, no, he said, I'll be happy to do it for zero. So the least we can do is send him a letter. So if you could do something like that, and I'll sign it, or whatever you would be fine. Yes, sir.
Question, is he the Paul McDonald that's pushing for the Invenergy power plant? That the same guy?
I don't know what his views are. I haven't talked to him since.
He's the union rep, right?
He's a
labor's union rep?
yes. He's a representative. He lives in Tocklin. He's on the personnel board. I don't know if he's a chairman of the personnel board, but he is on the personnel board for.
Yeah, he's not doing any favors to the town.
Well, we had, just to give you a little bit of background, we had looked into hiring someone to do a search for us because our office manager retired, and it was going to cost us thousands of dollars. It was based on the person's salary, and so when I talked to the town manager, and he said, well, maybe someone from the personnel board will help us, and
That makes
it
sense.
didn't cost us anything. So
Yeah, that makes sense now.
Okay.
So Mike Wood wanted Paul McDonald.
well, he didn't want him, but he offered
You referred him.
services.
You referred him. Would that be a conflict of interest, I wonder, Cole?
No. Paul McDonald works for the town. You know, he doesn't get paid. He offers his services to the town of Burrillville. He's a part of the personnel board. But anyway, we're going to send a letter. Okay. Okay. So now the next order of business is public comment, and I'm sure that someone or everyone wants to speak. I would ask that if you speak, we have to know your name, so that when it's on the tape, we know who said what. Okay? So we are in the area of public comment. I'm ready, Mr. McWilliams.
Yeah, I'm Earl McWilliams from Mohegan. Had a couple of questions regarding Invenergy. Is the sewer commission aware of how much water they will be sending through the wastewater facility on the average day when they're burning gas? And then how much water would they be sending through when they're burning oil? Those two figures, and is the wastewater treatment facility adequate to handling that kind of flow?
Jack?
I don't actually have the figures in front of me. They were supplied as an application, and I can say that we have prepared what we call a wastewater facilities management plan amendment that includes that information, which I'll be glad to email it to you if you want to leave the girls an email address. And that's currently being reviewed by the Department of Environmental Management as we speak.
We,
That would have, I'm sorry, any facilities plan amendment that the community wants would have to be approved by DEM before the community can implement it.
Jeremy Bailey, Burrillville, Rhode Island. When you say amendment, do you mean you're reviewing whether or not you can handle the capacity, or that you're amending the actual facilities to handle the increased capacity? Can you clarify, please?
we can handle the capacity.
You-
The treatment plant here actually built for 1.5 million gallons a day, and
Mhm.
we're doing half of that.
Mhm.
So we could handle whatever, you know, we do have, our plan is broken down percentage-wise into residential and industrial. We have to save a certain amount of our capacity for residential, and same thing, we have to save some for commercial. Now, only operating at 50% like we are now, we have some pretty large capacity to take on other things. But we submit a plan to the State of Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management every year or every other year. And when we do that, we tell them, well, 30% of this or 15% or whatever it might be is for that. Now, if we have to adjust it, that's when we have to modify the plan and let them know what we're thinking of. And it's up to them to say, well, you can or you cannot.
Does that, Paul LaFay, Burrillville, does that also take into account future growth? Like the town's gonna wanna bring in retail, office,
Sure.
and we don't strip malls, you know,
Whatever it might be.
another version, another insurance company coming in or whatever.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan, we have to follow the town of Burrillville comprehensive plan, because they give us the numbers, the town planner.
Right, but I'm just saying, if we do true economic development, not just by bringing another power plant,
Yeah, sure.
would we have enough?
I believe we would.
Do we know?
It appears we would.
What's that? We don't know. We don't know what we're trying to attract, though, right?
We don't know what the town council or the industrial foundation is trying to attract. No,
Yeah.
we don't know that. We, well, just to give you a little backup, just a little bit, a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, the town of North Smithfield, we talked with the town of North Smithfield because they wanted to tie into us, because they didn't want to continue to be dealing with the city of Woonsocket, which is where their waste goes now.
Yes.
But it would have been such a big project and required so much change that we couldn't do that. Now, that was big. But in small industrial complexes, let's say a hotel or something, you know, whatever it
Yeah.
might be, that's not beyond our purview. We can handle
Let's
it.
say we want to bring in 5 or 6 manufacturers. I mean, we don't know what size they'll be, you know?
Exactly. And we don't know what their effluent will be either.
Right,
You know, because there are some of them, take for instance Danielle Prosciutto up here.
Yes.
You know, big plant,
Yeah.
but when they decided that they were, even the one in Pasco, they have to pre-treat before it
Yes.
comes to us, because it's too strong. Whatever they might have is too strong. So we don't wanna take that raw stuff and bring it down here into this plant. So part of the deal before they even built anything was that they had to have their own facility to pre-treat. Invenergy is the same way. They have plans to pre-treat the water that they're going to use at the wellhead in Pasco, if it passes. They're going to pre-treat it before it even goes to the plant, and then whatever they do with it, I'm not really sure. I'm considering cooling and regular septic stuff that normally would be, but then it turns around and goes back.
Have you, Jeremy Bailey,
Jerry?
have you seen any science or any chemical list or anything what you expect to receive from the water coming back from Invenergy at this point?
No.
No.
No, we do know that Rhode Island DEM is in a permitting process for them to take the water out of in Pasco, which is contaminated or not, I don't know, but to use that water and do something with it before it gets to their plant. Now, what, they're gonna use charcoal filtration. I don't know what else they have to do with it, that's to be seen, but that, I believe that at that point, right there, where the water comes out of the well and it's treated, once it's treated, at that point, DEM will be testing that water before it leaves that facility to go anyplace else, I believe.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah, that
Okay,
is-
so let's assume that, you know, it meets whatever DEM's criteria is, but, you know, I'm not a wastewater facility treatment expert, but I understand you guys have to keep within certain levels of metals and different particulates and things like that. Just because DEM says, yes, this water is, let's call it good, to use a general term,
Yep.
how do we know that that water coming back isn't going to put us over some level that could require some major upgrade to our facility?
Well, DEM controls this facility also, so samples that come in and out of here are daily, do they check daily?
We got dailies, weeklies, monthlies.
Yeah, you know, we have to know, and so I'm thinking, I don't know, I can't be definitive, but I'm thinking that when anything comes down from that plant, from the way I understand it, it's gonna tie into a manhole somewhere near East Wallen Lake Road intersection right there, because that's basically where we, as far as the sewer system goes.
Right.
And we would do the same to them as we do to Danielle Prosciutto or any other industrial plant, where we will go out and we will take samples out of that manhole, bring them down here and check them before it gets to here. Now, we can't do it every day, of course, but randomly, and that's what we do with other places too. We check to see what the levels of different things are that they're sending down to us. What they're gonna be doing, I'm not an energy expert, I'm not even a sewer expert, that's why I have my superintendent over here, but
So who would be responsible for upgrading our facilities should that water coming down cause us to have to upgrade our system? Or do we have the ability to be like, sorry, you're causing us to go over some certain requirement, DEM's not gonna allow us to now dump our, treated water back into Clear River, we're shutting you down?
I don't know.
No, that would be the industry. It would be the industry.
What do you mean? What would be
If the industry contributes something that would cause the plant to go into offset or violate the water quality regulations in the river, it's up to the industry to either cure the problem or not discharge.
Do we currently have a letter of intent signed between us and Invenergy, intending to allow them to tie into our sewer system?
I don't think we do. No, they came down, they came down and asked us if we could handle their effluent.
That you said they never did?
No, they did. They
okay.
came down and they asked us if we could handle it, what our capacities were, and if we could handle it. And we can.
Okay. Are we required to allow them to tie into the system?
I don't know.
If you want me to try to, I'll give you the best guess I have. There's nothing specifically within the commission's regulations that would deny anybody the ability to try to tie into the system.
Okay, I don't believe that to be true because I know as far as we do have members that have in the past requested to pay to tie into the sewer system and they were denied that right, even though that they were going to tie in. I'd be happy to give you names, I'm sure you wouldn't mind. Kevin Stockwell was one of them, and he had several neighbors years ago and they wanted to tie into the sewer system. They were told no. So the point that I'm getting at, and I'm sure you guys could probably see where this
There
is
would have to
going.
be a technical reason not to tie in.
Okay, I don't agree with that. So with the Burrillville Sewer Commission, I would actually like an attorney's opinion on this, and no better attorney than the one in the room. And if today's not the day, we'd like a follow-up. We want to know what our legal rights and abilities are as our town-run utilities commission to say no to a customer, particularly this customer, Invenergy. Are you prepared to? Could you comment on it today, or?
No, I can't comment on it today, just not ready for it.
Yeah, I understand.
And if the commission asked me for a legal opinion, then I obviously would give them a legal opinion. With all due respect to you folks, I don't
Yes.
represent you.
Okay, so I'm asking the commission to please follow up and with the attorney who is representing the commission, we want to know what our legal rights are to say no to Invenergy of tying into our public sewer commission. Since in the past we have denied other potential members to tie in, it seems like the precedent has already been set. So we would like a legal opinion from Mr. Kane, and we would like a follow-up, as soon as possible. I know it takes time, but we don't want to wait until the next monthly meeting.
And from an open meeting standpoint, so we have public comment right now. The public is obviously commenting. The commission has the right to respond to questions made in public comment. But as far as directing me to do anything or taking any action, my advice is don't do that today because it's not listed on the agenda as an action item. It would have to go on at a future meeting.
So the commission, at a minimum, is not allowed to ask you for an opinion on something. You just said if the council wanted, the commission asked you for an opinion.
They can do it, but they ought to put it on a subsequent agenda because they're basically taking a vote, asking me to do something, all right, and it's not listed on the agenda like that, and that could be a problem with the open meetings. If they saw fit to ask for that.
I'm going to
What
assume
harm, what harm would that, I'm just curious, what harm would that be if they asked you?
I don't want the Burrillville Sewer Commission violating the Open Meetings Act. When it's public comment, I think.
Okay,
folks
so
have
they-
good understanding.
Could the public object for them asking you this? Would there be any reason why the public would object if the sewer
I
commission
can't-
asked you for an opinion?
The public can object and say anything it wants, but,
How soon could we, what's the procedure and how soon could we call a special meeting as opposed to waiting to next month's meeting? Because I would assume that the majority of us do not want to wait till the following month. We'd like to proceed with a special meeting, and whatever that protocol is, we'd like to know so we could follow it.
It's gotta be requested by a commission member, and it's gotta be at least 48 hours notice.
There's a budget meeting on the 25th, could add a small, if it was the board's desire to do this, they could add a small section where it'd be called to order and ask for that opinion.
Ray, could I just interject? The last public comment that we're aware of is going to be on May 23rd with the siting board. We would prefer to try to get this meeting in before then, please. In anticipation of this, if Attorney King could
I'm confused as
potentially...
to why it would harm the public if the
I didn't
commission-
say it would harm the public, I said, my advice to the commission is not to vote, whether by consensus or vote, and ask me to do something when it's not listed on the agenda as an action item.
And what would be the negative on that?
The negative is that we could be a possible violation of the open meetings law because they took action on an item that's not listed on the agenda.
By them asking you an opinion, that's
By them
taking
by them
action?
taking action and requesting that I do a legal opinion.
How would that harm the public, though?
It doesn't matter whether it's a potential violation of the open meetings
The
law.
open meetings law.
Yeah, I don't see it, though. I don't see it.
So, let's finish that thought. As far as the special meeting, I appreciate you looking into the 25th, Ray. However, I really would like to have that before then, because, like I said, the last, public comment with the FSB is the 23rd, and we'd like to have some of these answers as we approach them.
Can the director, the chair. He can, Jack can.
Separate of this meeting, separate
Yeah,
of this.
yeah, we do things on a weekly basis. I mean, yeah.
That way,
Okay, well then perhaps, outside of the commission then, and so we wouldn't be potentially violating the public open meetings law, could the director please ask his attorney or the commission's attorney to look into the legality and how we may go about saying no to a new customer?
That would just have to be separate of this meeting.
Can I express my concerns?
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing I would ask you is to give me the examples you're talking about,
Okay,
because we would have to at least investigate those situations to actually understand how they related to the commission's regulations and what the commission might or might not have voted at those times
okay,
to understand the other side of the issue you're looking for.
okay, that's one part, but part number two is also, this is a new customer that's looking to tie in. As a commission, we could say, I believe, and that's why I want the attorney to look into this, is I believe we can say no. We don't think this is a good fit for our sewer commission. There's X amount of water coming into it, Although we can handle it, it's going to reduce the useful life of our system. There are reasons what I believe that if we truly wanted to say no, I believe we legally can. And I would ask that the director speak with the attorney and please look into those avenues and from your constituents, from the people that, you know, do support and pay for the Burrillville Sewer Commission, please.
I guess all I'm asking for them to do is provide us.
And I will do that, but I'm saying that's not the whole story. That's a portion of the story. The other story is just a potential new customer, what our legal rights are to say no to this new customer, regardless of the fact that they have $1 billion pocketbook.
I certainly have no way of answering that question.
I know, and what I'm asking you is as the director to ask the attorney and to direct the attorney, please.
Okay.
So I got a motion then. So my motion would be to refer the public, can we do that? All right, okay. So we can just, so we've done pretty much what we.
He can, I think they're gonna bring him some information, and if he sees fit, he'll contact me and.
Yeah, that's the route that we have to take, is that.
It seems like we have to come with a lawyer is what happens, because it's not about the other people who didn't get turned off, it's about a new person that we don't want in. So as taxpayers, as the people that are paying your bills, we want to say no. And we've seen it done before in our own town, and we want to see it happen again in our town. That's the thing. So you guys are just going to keep joshing us and putting it under the rug, unless we come with a lawyer who's going to cut your lawyer up. That's what happens. That's what we need to do. So we have to man up and just get rid of the whole town. It's sad, because no one wants to fight for the town. No one wants to fight for Rhode Island. That's what's sad. It's a very sad thing. What my question was, I'm John Scott. My question is, you're using MTBE water, which is banned. It's been banned. It's a ban. It's almost like if you're using human growth hormone in the NFL. You can't do it. I can't go get an automatic weapon because it's banned. I can't have a 50-round drum with 10 bullets in it. It's a banned thing. MTB is banned. It's banned. It's not pollution. It's not contaminated. It's banned. Look it up. It's banned. How can you resurrect a contaminated court-ordered well and think that you can do this? That's what I want to know. How are you going to say that there's safe levels when the density, because let me tell you, I've heard it over and over again, with the soil range, it's in the soil and it's in the water. And what we keep being told is there's ledges and ledges. You know what? The density is very potent in different spots. So you might have no trace on top, but once you start sucking it, oh, whoops, sorry, we didn't know our filters weren't good enough. And now we're polluting the Blackstone River, and we're polluting the Clare River, and that's going all the way down into the Providence, and now we're contaminating the Situate Reservoir, which is drinking water. So let's think about our neighbors and the whole state, not just money in ourselves. That's what I want to say. Okay? Next time we'll come with a lawyer.
I'll follow up with a comment on that.
Excuse me. Mr. McWilliams had his hand up 3 times.
I want to ask a couple more questions relating to the volume.
Relating to?
The volume of effluent that they're
Oh,
going to
okay,
send,
yeah.
the volume. I was at a meeting up in Dayville where they're putting in another power plant and got educated a little bit. My understanding is that when they're burning the fracked gas, which is, they say, most of the time, it takes a certain amount of water. You're going to be getting a certain amount of water. But my understanding from up there is that when they have to go to burning diesel oil, it greatly increases the amount of water that's going to be necessary. I mean 6-8 times more water. And my first question is the sewer commission, is the facility able to handle that? The other related question is, right now this is for a 500 megawatt plant. They very much want to put in a 1,000 megawatt plant. I mean, there's going to be a greater increase in the volume that you're going to have to be dealing with. And I just wonder how comfortable the sewer commission is with those two unknowns. Or maybe you already know how much water is going to be coming in when they switch to the diesel oil.
Yeah.
And
Well,
your ability to...
we have been told some of the numbers that they are going to require. Now, again, I'm not a geologist. I don't know what if personally, one of my concerns might be that maybe Pasco water wells don't even make enough water for what they need. I'm not really sure. But I don't even know that, but that's neither here nor there. This is a wastewater treatment facility, and we feel pretty confident that we can handle what they are going to send us, whether it be the quality of water or the amount of water. We believe that we can handle it, and we believe that the Department of Environmental Management will be overseeing the operation in the Pasco area where the water leaves to make sure that it's relatively clean.
But my understanding is that we could be talking, especially when they go to 1,000, over 1 million gallons of effluent a day.
That's correct. It's in their application.
700,000 to 1 million even, well, 700,000 could be even, again, from what I'm hearing from Dayville, even with the 500 megawatt plant, if they're burning diesel oil, you're gonna get an awful lot more effluent coming.
Yes, we saw the numbers where it jumps up quite a bit, but we don't know what the ratio is or how often they're gonna be doing that. And again, very preliminary stages.
60 days, up to 60 days, right?
They've-
60 days.
As a maximum?
Yes, they've applied for up to 60 days a year to be burning
Okay.
ultra-low sulfur diesel.
That's something I didn't really know.
But
So,
one last related
Sure, one last.
question, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in the plans that you've seen that they presented to you, is there any role for the Pasco Utility District? Are they gonna be saddled with the responsibility for treating this stuff? Or is it totally gonna be Invenergy from what they've told you?
I believe it's Invenergy. The Pasco ratepayers should not have any,
So they're gonna
Cool.
take care of all the treatment.
that's what we're told.
okay, that's not,
Which is really scary.
it's not the case anyways.
Well, you know, typically, things have to have rules, regulations, they have to be overseen by a third party, basically, and we are regulated by DEM, and DEM regulates them, and federal EPA regulates DEM. This is just the steps that are taken. You know, we still haven't finalized anything, really. Yes, sir, your name, please.
Frank Silva.
Frank.
All right, capacities, we're looking at like a minimum of 60,000 gallons coming down from that plant that we were told, it's actually in the application. And then it's going to go up to, when they do burn low sulfur diesel, it's going to go up to close to 1 million gallons, of which you'll probably see 25% of that or more coming down. We don't see the real numbers, but we know it's going to be quite a bit of capacity coming down to the plant. Now, with that being said, there's got to be some type of cost involved for this facility. Certainly, you're going to pass on fees, but it's going to require some type of expansion at some point. And basically, this plant was built for Invenergy, you know, the allowed capacity that's left. And you're saying there's 750,000 gallons left in the system for expansion and everything. So if they're going to take on a given day, perhaps up to 250,000 or more, they're taking a third of our capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Without really a dime to build the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're not paying into anything as far as upgrading of this plant.
Right,
and all.
right.
Now, the MTBE, the best that you can remove out of the system is 90%.
I don't know.
Okay? I've done my research and reached out to water facilities, drinking water for potable water out in California. And it's 90% is the best they can get. So in other words, you have to get the MTBE level down low enough, around 4 or 5 parts per billion, to attain that type of treatment to remove it. Okay? So the safe water level is non-detectable, which is lower, less than 1 part per billion. So what would the sewer commission do to ensure that that's not coming all the way down here? Because do you have the capability to remove MTBE before it goes into the Clear River? If it did get by.
It will get by.
So if that's for the engineer or the facility director, would they?
The only thing I can say, and that doesn't directly answer your question, is that any pollutant, including the MTBE, is regulated by the state, by the DEM. They're the one that actually sets whatever the permit limits are on our discharge into the river. So they will be in charge of developing whatever limit it might be on what the effluent from the facility can be discharging to the river.
So you have no problem accepting MTBE into the plant then, is what you're saying?
Right.
That's correct.
In other words, should your standard be like, you know, when I talked out, when I reached out to a city in Santa Monica, California, Mr. Nyland, who is heading this Invenergy project, he's the front guy, said that they were a success story. So I had to reach out to them to find out what kind of a success story it was. I had a chance to talk to the environmental chemist there, who's the manager of the water district. Every drop that falls from that sky is very important to them. Storm runoff, you name it, everything. It's very arid out there. So they're very concerned about their water quality. And they were able to get that, they had 2 wells contaminated 14 years ago. And it took some time for remediation at the sites of where the source of the pollution was. It wasn't the treatment process of the plant. Those wells weren't turned on for 14 years. When they finally turned them on, they were tested. Initially, when the pollution took place, it was 700 parts per billion. When they turned the wells back on to check them, they were down, one well was down between 3 to 5 parts per billion. At that point, that activated carbon system would work. And once they tested it, the end result was clean water. They were able to send this out to the system to supply water once again to the public. They had lost 85% when the initial problem took place. The second well is still contaminated and won't be usable for another 5 years. And so I did talk to her. I said, well, what is the safe level? She said, there isn't it. It needs to be removed out of the system. You do not want to mess with this, is what I was told.
Well, then again,
okay?
it's not really up to us, it's up to the Department of Environmental Management who regulates us. If they tell us, we don't know, if we can't handle what comes in to this plant, then we find the source of where it's coming from, and we tell them they have to treat it. And we'll
But
always
spot
stop.
sourcing, just one more thing, please. Doing a spot check, okay, and I know they've done that in Providence and the jewelry districts and all that, checking for heavy metals coming through. Why couldn't you have a permanent monitoring system like you have pumping stations in the vicinity of the tie-in or upstream enough so that you have a monitoring system that's testing all the time to see what effluent is coming down, make sure they're not dumping heavy metals or whatever the case may be, because they do have a demineralization treatment before it goes into their system. You know, we want to make sure that they're going to be good neighbors, if it did come down to that. Personally, I don't want the plant.
No, of course not.
But I think you need to make sure that any cost to monitor for MTBE, heavy metals, whatever the case may be, is on their dime, not ours.
I think you're bringing up some very good questions and some very good points. But as Andrews pointed out, the responsibility for ensuring that the MBTE is removed to acceptable standards, whatever, and I don't know what those are. And you're mentioning a number of percentage.
Banned substance.
Okay, banned is one thing. Okay, so
Yeah, but
whatever
money
that
will open up
standard,
a
excuse
whole
me,
other
I'm
well.
speaking. I'm glad to listen. I've been sitting here listening to your comments. I would appreciate the same reciprocity. Okay. The burden of ensuring that the water being used meets the appropriate public standards, whether they be EPA or DEM, lies with the DEM. So if the DEM has to determine that before drop one of that water coming out of that well and coming out of whatever the treatment system that they require of Invenergy and makes it to the plant, that's where the burden lies. I understand your comment, but I think you should be having this conversation as far as the quality of that water that's being used for cooling with the DEM. You're asking us,
Well, just one more
once the
quick.
DEM approves that water, then they know they regulate us, they give us all the standards that we have to meet. If they approve something, they know that they have to make sure that it's something that meets what a burden that they've already placed on us.
So what I'm getting at is, can you as a sewer commissioner reach out to DEM as a concern and have, the criteria to require a monitoring station that's a permanent thing, and all you have to do is, whether it's by technology, you tap into the system, levels are great, there's no detectable levels, and, they are a big end user. You're talking a third of your capacity right now is going to really come from them. on a given day when they're running low sulfur diesel. So why wouldn't you want to monitor them? I mean, let's catch it beforehand. And so if you did petition DEM, that you do have some concerns, you're saying we can handle the effluent that's coming out of this. But we like to make sure that it's being monitored, so we're getting what they're saying. I mean, I don't trust them. I mean, that's like the fox watching the hen house here.
Well, I'm familiar with what you're suggesting as far as the in-ground. Actually, I have one at my own facility, my own plant. So I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah.
I'm also very familiar with ground remediation. I've been doing it for 20 years at our facility. So it's a long, drawn-out process. And your suggestion is a good one, and it may be something that we consider down the road. All we've seen so far is a presentation saying, here are the numbers, and here, there's nothing ironclad, there's no binding agreements, there's nothing. We've got one presentation, giving one group of numbers. Based on that data, yes, the question was, can we handle it? We looked at it and said, yes, we could handle based on that data. If that data changes, then the question gets re-reviewed. You know, to Jack's credit,
And keep in mind,
monitor as best we can. Would we need, or would it be in our best interest to have a 24-hour monitor in the system? I don't know, maybe. That's
I mean, I think it's something that...
To make it clear, as I said in the beginning, the idea of us accepting the flow is not carte blanche within the commission's authority. That's why we prepared at the Invenergy's cost the facilities plan amendment. Because you now have to get approval from DEM, and they have to say that we agree with your assumptions, their assumptions, our assumptions going to DEM. In our facilities plan amendment, they have to say yes or no. They'll actually have to issue a legal order of approval to say that it's okay.
Right.
The commission can't do anything if they don't get that.
I fully understand that, but with that...
But that's the step we're at, so I understand all your questions, and they're all very pertinent and very good questions. We haven't crossed that barrier yet. If, for example, DEM came back and said, no, we don't quite agree with that, or we expect the commission to do more, or the town is going to be on the burden for anything like that, at that point the commission could turn around and say, you know, what you're proposing to do is not worth the town's effort to do it, so you'll have to find another source for your wastewater disposal.
I mean, at the end of the day, I want to see what goes into Clear River, to be clear. You know, that's the bottom line.
It'll be clear, but
There has to be another, I would assume that they must know that there's another disposal option for them.
I have a question.
I don't know what that might be, but I can't believe that because they couldn't discharge here, the plant can't get built. Ocean State Power doesn't discharge to any municipal sewer system, and they must have some way of handling their waste.
Right, you would think,
Right.
you know? But the MTD is a sort of...
Terry Lacy, Pasco. I just heard something that kind of piqued my interest when you had talked about checking the levels for MTBE and if it's that DEM is solely responsible to do that. And again, as somebody pointed out, Invenergy is supposed to check it, whatever. It's like the hen. I mean, what was it? Fox watching the hen house. My question is, and I guess this would be for the lawyer, and it might be something that you would check into, if for some reason MTBE leaves this plant after it's been treated and it is dumped into the Clay River and continues on to Blackstone, and who's going to be legally responsible if it gets contaminated? I think that's something that should really be looked into, because it's leaving this plant, and it was told that it was leaving this plant. So that's something that, I mean, there's so many questions, and again, I appreciate all your, accepting these questions.
There
It
are
is
a lot of questions.
very hot button issue with a lot of townspeople, I'm sure you know it. And there's a lot of questions, and I just hope, I really pray that, and I believe, that you will do your due diligence, look over the application completely, look at anything that pertains to the water, and because there are a lot of questions, and what you have here is just a small group of people that, because we work, but we do have jobs, but some of us could be here today. There's a lot of other big, great questions out there. I hope you work with Pasco Water District with this, and But that's a big question, that legal liability is, something you may wanna look into.
We try to cover as many bases as we can to.
And we're just
protect
here
the
to maybe
town-
help
To
you,
protect the town as well as.
right, and we're just giving some, I'm just throwing that out there, maybe it's something that really should be looked into.
Sure.
We're all,
Okay,
we're all
thank you.
citizens of this town, just like, we're all together. We're all
And I know that,
family.
and I
We're all
agree.
interested.
I think one last question, because we gotta get going,
Okay, so, actually, I'm gonna try to force two in there. So, one, I would ask that there is no letter of intent that is signed, or anything, related to that should be signed between now and Invenergy. I want everyone to hold off on that, As you may or may not be aware, Pasco Utility, has essentially, Mike Kirkwood specifically has kind of damned the Pasco Utility right now by signing a letter of intent without the commission even knowing. We're addressing that right now with some counsel. And, I'm asking the commission to not take any action with Invenergy at this point if they were to approach you. Okay, so I'm gonna throw that out there too. Do we have I was told that we've actually put out to bid to an engineering company a new wastewater treatment facility plant. Can someone comment on that?
A new wastewater treatment facility?
Yes, or some major upgrades?
Oh, we're doing
We're in the
major
process
upgrades.
right now of doing major upgrades.
Major upgrades?
Yeah.
Okay. Within these upgrades,
Not related to Invenergy, though.
that's my next, well, my follow-up question
Because,
is,
well, let me tell you what happened. What happened was that, I believe State of Rhode Island or even the federal EPA, they're always playing with the numbers as far as, they want the water, the effluent that's coming out of this plant to be cleaner than drinking water that's coming out of the Harrisville wells, basically. And so some engineer had nothing better to do than to put together a rule or regulation that said that we have to, not only us, but sewer treatment plants in general, have to lower copper and phosphate levels of their effluent going into waterways and things like that. And so, in order for us to do that, we have to spend just over $5 million. And that project we've been talking about it for over 2 years. And it's been engineered and it's in the process now. We're gonna vote later on today to pay some of the bills. It's a $5 million project that has nothing to do with Invergy or whatever the hell the name is. What it does is it upgrades the plant to take out phosphate and copper to the limits that we're regulated to, 1.5 million gallons per day. Now, that being said, my own personal opinion is that, we were putting something like 4 or 5 parts per billion copper, our effluent, in parts per billion, that's pretty small, and they want it down to like 2 or 1. I mean, they're getting, in my estimation, a little bit ridiculous, but we have to do it. Rhode Island DEM said, this is what you gotta do. So the upgrades and stuff that you see, especially over here in the back, that all relates to prior to anybody even talking about a power plant. It's just, we've been trying to put it off for a long time, but we finally have to do it.
This is everybody, so we just happen to be.
All sewer treatment plants.
All sewer treatment plants have to do this.
yep, I
And it's the
understand.
It's the copper from yours and my house.
Yes.
Because of the acid rain, the pH of the water has changed.
Just so we can be
The
clear too,
sulfates from your
it doesn't
shampoo.
increase the capacity of the plant at all. The
Okay,
plant's designed and permitted for 1.5 million gallons per day. This
Okay.
new work doesn't increase it 1 gallon. All it does is improve treatment.
thank you. All right.
I just wanted to say, if you're trying to make the water clean, I don't know how taking MTBE, because you guys seem to know a lot about sewer treatment, but nothing about MTBE, so unless you start looking that up, I don't understand how you're gonna be letting anything clean out of the system. It just doesn't make sense, you really gotta look into it, because it's, I don't know if you guys drank it when it was here in Pasco or not, but brush your teeth with it or anything, but if you did, you'd know,
It was a horror show.
yeah, it's a nightmare, so.
Okay, so, we all set?
Yeah, just the last comment.
Last one.
Yeah, last
We have a
one.
meeting to go to.
No, my big thing is, I think it's just a rotten shame to let them use our capacity, something that does not provide any economic development. And I think we should look for entities to come in that help the town as far as jobs, not 18 permanent jobs like they're saying. But what I'm saying is, with normal growth, like Amica went into Smithfield, that kind of thing. Clean, non-polluting industries, or industries that do pollute, but are not to this extent. Manufacturing jobs and retail and so forth and so on. I just think it would be a rotten shame to have to invite this entity in and use up our capacity. That doesn't. Now, just for curiosity, Mike Wood did us an injustice by signing a letter of intent. Mike Kirkwood, Mike Wood, and then Mike Kirkwood did us a letter. Well, I should say the town council, probably Pacheco. I don't know who signed it, Mike Wood or Pacheco. But Mike Kirkwood did us an injustice by signing a letter of intent. Who would be the person here that would sign a letter of intent if it came to that?
Well, we meet.
I don't. What's your name?
Bill Andrews.
Okay. Well, good. We have more confidence in you.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. The stage you guys are at, to me, is fantastic. Compared to,
everyone else.
There's no secrets here. There was secrets over there.
Yeah.
This is terrible. This is the way it should have been run.
We try to do our due diligence, we really do.
Yeah.
And there are so many areas that we are forced into by other regulatory groups like DEM and EPA and people like that. But for the most part, we try to do our due diligence. And when a company comes in, not only in Venergy, but any business, when they come in, we try to be very, very careful as to what they're going to send into our system and what we're going to put into that river. I'm 69 years, I don't want to get by this, but I'm 69 years old and I lived in Nasonville and Glendale my whole life.
Yes.
And when I was just a youngster, when I was 8 and 9 years old and all these mills were in product, that river that goes behind my shop and goes down through Nasonville had these big clumps of green stuff floating in it all the time, and you couldn't see the bottom of the river. It was total mess, really, really bad. Our water quality has gotten a lot better over the years, and I intend to try to keep it that way. As much as I don't like to spend the $5 million and raise everybody's rates, at least we're doing something that's significantly good for the environment and it's good for the people of Burrillville. Now, this Invenergy company, and like I said before, they come down once, very, very preliminary. And we will investigate it as deeply as we can.
There's so many people with a wealth of knowledge here. I don't like to use the word experts because everybody knows experts is just a stranger from afar. That's all that means.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of people a lot of citizens in town, and I'm saying with everybody in the room, we're all in this together.
Sure.
That wealth of resources.
I have a commission member, Ray, you want to say
Yeah, I was just thinking that, there's some good questions came up here. In the future, we could put an item on the agenda, power plant update or something like that. That way, if somebody had a legitimate question, we could take an action on it or refer it to whoever, I hate to say experts, but our experts, we have an engineer, so if we put that on, and some months it might be nothing, but some months it might be either a request from an attorney or a request from the manager to do something.
Ray, but in the short term, could we still work on that special meeting, before the 23rd?
We'll get you some information.
Okay.
I think,
Or get us the answer. If he's going to ask it, he's going to get us the answer.
right.
If we don't, so we're not going to need a special meeting to get the update. You can get the question answered, and then I'll give you my email address. You can email it to me, and I can.
Right, Jeremy, the only caveat in that is that it's outside of this meeting. It's not part of this meeting.
That's right. He's going to personally ask,
right.
or on behalf of, his position.
Well, but the other thing is to do it in meetings as we go along.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you folks for showing up, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys.
Buy a lot of coffee.